So, and here we are again on the fourth stanza, which is where we left last time. We said that in this stanza, the speaker tells the nightingale to fly away so that he could follow him. And actually, he does, at least thanks to his imagination. Imagination that Keats calls fancy. We will see it in a few lines. So line 15, line 35, already with thee. Tender is the night. We said already with thee means that he feels completely in the forest now with the nightingale. He describes the night as lit by this moon, this personification of moon and of stars as well, since they are described as fairies. It's a dark place where there's no light apart except the light coming from the sky that gets through the branches, the leaves, thanks to a gentle breeze. Through this verdurous glooms, unwinding mossy ways. So we are completely in the forest now with the poet. It is so dark that the speaker describes this darkness as the incapability of seeing flowers. So please stop the video and read the fifth stanza. So he says, I cannot see what type of flowers are around me. Not even tell what perfume, perfumed plants are hang from the trees. But what I can say is that even if the darkness is surrounding me, I can still imagine, I can still guess what type of flowers are around me. So he's trying to imagine what is growing in the surrounding space. It's springtime and the forest is full of grass. Is the month of spring, which is endowed with grass, with thicket and with fruit trees, wild fruit trees. There are also wild hawthorns and pastoral eglantine. So those are all types of flowers or different kind of vegetation. They are hiding, fast fading violets covered up in leaves. So they are hiding as the violets under the leaves. And these violets are fast fading because they grow, but then they die. Once spring is over, usually violets die. And there is also the eldest child of middle May, which is the musk rose with its perfume, which will be soon crowded, surrounded by flies in the summer eves. Now we go to the next stanza. This is not finally because we still have more. In the sixth stanza, the speaker listens in the dark to the nightingale, saying that he has often been half in love with the idea of dying and calls death soft names in many rhymes. Still surrounded by the nightingale's song. Stop the video and read the sixth stanza. So he says, my mood darkens as I listen to your song, dear nightingale. I have often lived a sort of a romance with death. Look at the capital letter here, you already know what it means. So the poet says that he has often written about death, and he says often personified it in poetry, half longing probably to die himself. And he says, so I called him soft names. He's describing a sort of affair that he had with death. And now, more than ever, it seems the perfect time to die, to end the pain of human suffering, while I'm listening to you, while thou art pouring forth thy soul abroad in such an ecstasy. Still, if I died, you would go on singing, but your song would be wasted, since I will be a dead body. I'll still have ears, but since I am dead, I won't be able to listen to your song. So that your high requiem, we know that requiem is a song sung for dead people, become a sod. In the 7th stanza, the speaker tells the nightingale that it is immortal instead, that it was not born for death. He says that the voice he hears singing has always been heard by ancient emperors and clowns. So the nightingale is immortal. Let's see what the stanza is about in detail, so please pause the video and read it on your own. Thou was not born for death, immortal bird. You were not born to die like me, immortal nightingale. Not hungry generation tread thee down. You don't have new generations of people breathing down your neck, wishing that you die so that they can take your place. The voice I hear this passing night was heard in ancient days by emperor and clowns. That's self-explanatory. Perhaps the self-same song that found a path through the sad heart of Ruth. So perhaps it's the same song that arrived at the heart of Ruth. Ruth is a biblical character. Ruth that was sick for being home, so she was homesick, and she stood crying in the middle of a foreign field. It's the same song that would charm open the windows of ships on dangerous seas. The same song that could be heard in the forlorn, desolated lands where fairies live. Let's go to the next and last stanza, which is the 8th. The word forlorn tolls, rings like a bell, to recall, to restore the speaker from his worries, from his dream with the nightingale, and takes him back into himself. As the nightingale flies farther away from him, he complains that his imagination has failed him, and says that he can no longer recall whether the nightingale's music was a vision or a waking dream. So for the very last time, just pause the video and read the passage on your own. So he says, forlorn. Thinking about the word forlorn makes me feel like I'm alone again. You remember that here he had already said the word forlorn. This word, which he repeats at the beginning of the stanza, makes him feel like he's alone again. Goodbye, nightingale. My imagination, the fancy, imagination, so fancy means imagination, cannot cheat me so well. I cannot trick me. I know that I cannot fly with you. Goodbye, goodbye. Your song grows quiet as you fly past the meadows, over the nearby stream, and up the hillside. And now it's in the next valley. Was this whole experience real, or just a dream, just an illusion? Fled is that music, so the nightingale is gone. Am I awake or asleep? So here he gets back to reality. So as you can see, this ode is based on the idea that nothing can last. That's what we call transience. Everything just lives and dies. So let's have a look now at the symbols in this poem. Of course, the main symbol here is the nightingale, which is a symbol of beauty, immortality, and freedom from the world's troubles. We know also that nightingales are known for singing in the nighttime. That's why they're called nightingales. Here, the poet talks about the mortality of human life and the immortality of creative expression. In this ode, we have seen all the sorrow and all the sadness for this transience of life and the tragedy of old age, especially if we go back to stanza number 3. Okay, where he talks about old people and young people. On the other hand, the nightingale song has an eternal life. His music is eternal because it's the same music that has been heard during Roman times. That's where he spoke about emperors. Somehow it reminds us about the music that Wordsworth had, the music, the song, the melody sung by the solitary reaper. But the most important thing about this nightingale is that he represents a carefree existence, so an existence with no worries, and is free from the burdens of time, death, and human concerns. Is of course a poem inspired by many Greek myths. It's got a Greek form, and there are several allusions to the mythology and culture of ancient Greece. It also is a reflection on the nature of joy. Joy cannot be a permanent feeling. We must remember We must remember also that the previous year, the day before, the year before the publishing of the ode, Kit's brother had died from tuberculosis, and a illness had also killed his mother. And while writing the poem, kids had started to experience the first symptoms of the disease.